Hello, my name's Laura Rudo and I'm the founder of Evolve Beauty. Evolve Beauty is an artisan producer of organic and natural skin, body and hair care products. Each product is lovingly handcrafted in our small studio in Hertfordshire. I'm here to welcome you to this evening's Inspiring Entrepreneurs, the Wellness Edition event, because I'm also a user of the Business and IP Centre, and I have benefited from the brilliant support it offers entrepreneurs and SMEs like myself to start, protect and grow their businesses. I participated in the library's Innovating for Growth programme about 5 years ago, which was invaluable in helping me take a step back from the day-to-day challenges of running my business and become more strategic in my decision making in order to take my brand to the next level. In particular, it helped me decide to establish my own beauty production studio, which unleashed our innovation process and has led to substantial growth for the business. We now employ 25 people, and our products can be found in retailers like John Lewis, Anthropology, Fenwick and Planet Organic. In fact, one of the speakers here today, Trini Waddle, was kind enough to try our products and recommend them, which I'm very grateful for. The Centre supports entrepreneurs day in, day out by providing training, one-to-one support, connection building through networking, inspirational events like tonight's, and free access to the UK's most comprehensive and valuable collection of business data, market research and intellectual property resources. Since launching in 2006, the Business and IP Centre has welcomed over 750,000 people through its doors and consistently excels at supporting diverse audiences, with 63% of users currently women and 46% from BAME backgrounds currently. I would definitely encourage any small business owner to go on the website and find out how the British Library can help them achieve their business ambitions, not just in London, but at any of the 13 national network business and IP centres operating around the country, some of which are joining us live tonight. I will now hand over to journalist and editor-in-chief of About Time, Angelica Mallon, to kick off what I'm sure will be a truly inspiring and motivating evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Tonight's event, as part of the Inspiring Entrepreneurs series, is all about wellness, and I think it's a fantastic time to be talking about wellness. As someone who knows their matcha lattes from their chia puddings, I'm very excited about this topic, and we've got some fantastic speakers here tonight. I would like to ask if you guys would like to share your content on social media tonight. The hashtag is BIPC Wellness. You can share that on Instagram and on Twitter. And I'd also like to welcome all of those people watching on Twitter and on the live stream, and also around the country in Manchester and Hull and Liverpool. Welcome to you all. So, beginning tonight, we have the wonderful Max Henderson, who's going to be talking to you a little bit about his company. Max, if you'd like to come on and talk to our audience.
Certainly. Good evening. I'm going to be as brief as possible, but I guess the aim is for me to try and, for those of you who don't know the business, to give you a bit of an introduction to who we are, who Hotpod Yoga is, what we do, so that when we come to some questions at the end, you're a bit more informed. If you don't already know it, already that is. Some of you may be avid fans. How many people, it's always an interesting little sample, how many people have been to a Hotpod Yoga class? Any at all? Good. Minimal. Okay, well, our marketing team's got some work to do then, for sure. I'm going to be as brief as I can, but as I said, I'll give you a bit of an introduction and then pass on to someone else. So, long and short is, we are all about reinventing yoga for a modern audience, for a much wider audience as well. Right from day one, we were always about taking yoga out of the kind of niche that it was in, that was very intimidating to a lot of people, quite culty, quite otherworldly, and really bringing it into the mainstream so that actually the majority of people, millions of people, could make it a part of their life who otherwise wouldn't have done. And so that's really the core of what we do. I've got a really short video, which I'm going to show you, which probably more succinctly tells you what it is we do and gives you a bit of a visual idea as well, which is always key. It's worked. So there you go, that's us. And that is more literally us. So we launched in 2013. I'm going to talk you a little bit of the story of sort of how we got there to where we are today. We launched in 2013. It was me and my co-founder Nick, who's on the left. I used to be a management consultant, advising businesses on their strategy, basically. And Nick, actually at the time, was a school teacher and went on to become a yoga instructor. And I think what's actually really important, probably for understanding what it is we do as a business, is actually looking before that, before we launched. We launched in 2013, but actually the story building up to that and why we did what we decided to do gives you a really clear explanation of the core of our business, the building blocks of our business, really, and what it really is. The very quick story is Nick and I, old friends. We'd known each other since we were 12 years old or something. Both of us were like in our mid-20s, that's probably being generous, mid to late 20s, living in London. As I said, I was a management consultant, he was a school teacher. This is kind of 2011-ish. Neither of us had any interest in yoga whatsoever. Both of us, to be honest, had this preconception of what yoga was, which was, to us, it was this kind of quite culty, quite weird thing that I really had no interest in. I was always quite a healthy, quite an active person, but yoga just wasn't on my radar at all. It just wasn't of interest to me. Randomly, Nick got into it. He was told by a physio to get into it because he had an injured knee. I did what a sort of 25-year-old guy did in 2011 when his mate gets into yoga, which was I teased him a little bit, mocked him a little bit, said, "Why are you joining a cult? This is all a bit scary. What are you doing?" And he naturally responded by saying, "Just give it a go. Go on, try." And I was like, this is going to be terrible. I'm going to hate this. This is going to be absolutely horrendous. And sure enough, to be fair, my first experience was kind of all my preconceptions rolled into one. I was made to hug someone on the mat next to me. I was made to chant, and I didn't know what I was chanting. And it was all very, very confusing. And I just thought, he's properly lost it. I have no idea what he's doing. I gave it another go under his coercion, and I tried a hot yoga class, which is, for those who don't know, it's just yoga in a heated space, where the space is usually heated to between 35 and 40 degrees. And I did the class, and the kind of penny dropped. I still found it pretty culty, a bit scary, quite intimidating, and like I wasn't really part of the gang, but I did kind of get it. I got the physicality, and I sort of got the benefits. And long and the short of it, one thing led to another, did more yoga, began to really see the benefits, became pretty convinced that it was actually a pretty great thing. Nick and I then sat down. We were both pretty entrepreneurial people. Both of us sat down and were like, right, this is a pretty exciting space. It's really interesting. It's obviously, looked at the States and we saw how much that had advanced as a market and as a sort of industry and a product. And we sat down and we had a look at the market and we sort of thought, what is it we can do in this space that's interesting? What is it that we can do that's different? Because we always wanted to do something with real ambition rather than just start a yoga studio. We wanted to do something different. And so what we did is we looked at some problems as we saw it in the market, some of the key issues which we wanted to address that would be the sort of cornerstones of our business. And those three things we sort of came up with responses to that are still now the kind of building blocks of our business and foundation of our business. And those three problems to solve were, firstly, hot yoga studios generally. Back in 2011-ish, go to a hot yoga studio. It was basically a big-ish room with a carpet that smelt quite a lot, was pretty brightly lit, and very, very hot. And we were kind of like, that's good, but it could be better for sure. So from two perspectives, we said we can completely reinvent that. Firstly, from a commercial perspective, it made no sense to us. It was people were putting all their capital into one asset that was not retrievable at all. And what they were getting in the end of the day was a hot room, and they were just doing yoga in a hot room. And we thought we can make that much, much better and build something that's purpose built for it and make it actually a really beautiful, amazing, immersive experience. And so that, as you've seen from our picture, we hold our classes in pods, as we call them, which are 20 to 25 person studios. They're inflatable and they're really, really immersive. They've got beautiful soundscapes. They've got amazing scent. They're really dimly lit. There's no mirrors, no bright lights. And so they're a lovely kind of immersive experience. And so that was kind of our solution to the first problem in a way, which was hot yoga studios, as we felt it just weren't really fit for purpose. Second thing is that yoga was just stuck in this niche. And this is what I said at the beginning. When we looked at yoga at the time, we were a pretty core, typical, market in a way, us, the two of us, and we had no interest in it. And that's, I think at the time, really yoga was, as we saw it from the outside, for two people. It was either the kind of hangover of the 60s, a lot of tie-dye, a lot of incense, a lot of chanting, which if you're a 25-year-old guy in London, not necessarily your cup of tea. And then there was this other kind of new wave of yoga in a way, which was very much Chelsea, green smoothie drinking, like perfection, Instagram, you know, Gandhi quotes, dancers pose with sunset behind you, all that kind of thing. And we were like, that's not really our vibe either. You should be able to do something that actually makes it cool, something that makes it, you know, really attractive, engaging to a much, much wider audience of people. And so we said, you know, you've got to firstly make it accessible, something that's not terrifying, something that people can engage with, but also then make it attractive. And that was really about building a brand that could reassure people. Because interestingly, at the time when we looked at the market, no one had done anything at scale in the yoga market. No one had really ever built a brand in the yoga market. We now have 60 odd sites around the world. At the time, I think that makes us the second biggest yoga business in the world, ridiculously. And at the time when we looked at it, no one had built more than 2 or 3 studios. And so for us, a key way of getting yoga out of this niche was to build a really strong brand that could provide the reassurance necessary to this wide audience of people who might be kind of skeptical of yoga. Then the third and final thing was about the limited career choices in yoga. And so end of the story, you know, the initial story was that Nick ended up falling in love with it so much that he ended up becoming a yoga instructor. He then went to go and get a job as a yoga instructor and kind of reported back and was like, this is crap. I'm being paid 25 quid to teach a class. I'm only teaching at 6 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night. Like, I know that all the customers are paying £15 a head. Like, what kind of a career is this? This is impossible. I've just paid £5,000 or something to a teacher training. What's going on here? And we looked at it and we're like, that shouldn't necessarily be the case. You should be able to give people, reward them properly and help them build great careers in yoga. And so that was actually a core part of our business model came out of that, which was our franchise business. And so as well as running studios in London, we've got 6 in London that we run. And we also have a big franchise network all over the world. And that is basically giving yoga instructors typically, but yoga entrepreneurs, the ability to be able to set up and run their own business with our support, with our technology, with our brand, with our infrastructure. But it's independent. It is their own business. We're just helping them along their way. And so that for us was a really, really important part of the business because it allowed opportunities in the yoga space. And so those are the 3 things, as I said, that were kind of the building blocks to our business. And so we launched in 2013, as it said, ran some pop-ups around London in a pretty ham-fisted way. Remarkably, they kind of sold out. We got lots of press. We were all very exciting. We ran around with an inflatable thing in the back of a Volvo, did some more classes, and it kind of actually grew from there. We then accelerated things quite quickly, took on our first franchise in August 2013, so 7-8 months after we'd launched. And we've kind of grown since then. As I said, we've got our own studios in London, we've got franchises around the world, and we've grown somewhat remarkably into Europe's largest yoga business. And we always said that was a slight pinch of salt in that for me, it's just remarkable that no one's ever done anything really at scale in the yoga space. And so really that's what we're trying to do, is we're really trying to really own that space and build a really, really big global brand that does something akin to what SoulCycle's done in the spinning space, for instance, which just open it up to a much, much wider audience of people. And so as I said, now this is actually a little outdated. I think we've got 60 odd locations around the world, predominantly in the UK, where we've got a genuine like spread across the whole country, down from tiny little villages, small towns, up to lot of the biggest cities as well. We're in South Africa, we're across Europe. And we're expanding fast. We've got something like 150,000 customers now, most of whom have never done yoga before when we've surveyed them, which really is kind of mission accomplished for us because that was always what we wanted to try and achieve. And we're continuing to grow. We generally grow, and we generally double pretty much every year. And so we'll probably do that almost this year as well. And so we're growing pretty fast, and we've always got exciting things happening. We've launched a teacher training school. We're launching more and more internationally. We're about to run a series of yoga retreats and a bunch of other things. But ultimately, we've come a long way in the 6 years. We were just saying beforehand, in this world, 6 years is actually quite a long time. I always feel like we're an aged business, but we've achieved a reasonable amount. But it's very much still the beginning for us, and we've still got a huge amount we're going to achieve. That's us.